And this is, I'll let Summer introduce herself.
My name is Summer Valenci, and I'm the director of the Volunteer and Service Learning Center here on campus. So if you want to come and get involved in the community when you're a UVU student, you'll come and see me.
So we are excited to be here tonight and to present to you and work with you a little bit about how to get involved in your community. And I'm going to turn the time over to Summer, and she's going to start us off.
Okay, so we have about an hour together, a little less, because President Holland kept going, but that's okay. We'll forgive him. We're going to first start with some principles of service. So if you have your handout, flip to that side. It's the one with the Twinkies on it. So we're going to talk about 7 principles of service first, and then we're going to flip to the other side, and Alexis is going to walk us through this worksheet to help you figure out what's the best way for you to get involved in the community, because every one of us has talents and skills that are different, and we can contribute in our own unique way. So we're going to help you through that, okay? And then we're going to end by going through some tools that you can use to find opportunities out in the community. Okay, so how many of you have heard the starfish story before? Anybody in here? Okay, if you haven't heard the starfish story, I'm going to tell it really briefly, and then I'm going to ruin it for you. Okay. So here's the starfish story. There's a little boy that's walking along the beach, and he's picking up the starfish. There's hundreds of starfish on the beach. And he's picking up the starfish, and he's throwing them back into the ocean. And this old man comes up and says, "What are you doing?" And he says, "I'm throwing starfish back into the ocean." And the old man says, "There's thousands of starfish on this beach. You're not going to be able to save all of them." And he picks up the starfish, and he throws it back into the ocean, and he says, "Well, it made a difference to that one." Okay, it's a great story, but there are some challenges with the story. It's really simplistic, right? The little boy, or the boy that's on the beach, is assuming that the starfish need to go back in. He's assuming that he knows that this is the best way to help, okay? What we need to do is when we're doing service, we need to ask questions, because he might be making a difference to those 3 or 4 that he picked up, but what about the thousands others that got left on the beach? How would you feel if you were one of those starfish, right? So we need to think a little bit more about how we're helping. We really need to work on this balance between our heart and our head. You can't just go in full on heart, or you can't go in just full on head. They have to be buddies, okay? And so that's what we're going to talk about a little bit with these principles of service. The first one is do no harm. Now, this is a medical imperative, so if you decide to go to medical school in the future, you will be taught this imperative. This means that when you are treating someone, your first responsibility as a doctor is to not hurt the person more, okay? Does that make sense? So, if you come up on an accident or a scene, are you supposed to start moving people around right away? No, right? What if something's gone wrong in their neck? You need to make sure that's mobilized. You need to make sure that you don't hurt them more. When we do service in the community, we need to have the same principle in mind, that we do no harm. That while we're out there trying to make a difference, trying to improve things, that we don't accidentally make it worse. Okay, and that's where you need that head and your heart. Here's 2 examples of how this happens. The first one is a picture of Katrina hurricane relief. Everyone, you guys are so young, you probably might not even remember Hurricane Katrina. Think about, though, we have hurricanes all the time, right? So this is a picture of lots of bottles of water, lots of supplies that are just kind of out there. Lots of disaster emergency people tell you that they have to plan for the disaster after the disaster. And the disaster after the disaster is all of this stuff that comes to the place of the disaster that also needs to be taken care of now. Okay? So it's always good to check and make sure, what do people need in times of disaster? Honestly, the best thing to do is send money. Cash is the best thing. You know why cash is one of the best things? See all that bottle of water? Think about how far it's traveled. Maybe it came from Texas, right? That's a lot of gasoline. That's a lot of emissions. There's a lot of things that we could have avoided using to get that water there. You don't want to know what the best thing for a community that's been hit by a hurricane is? The best thing is economic recovery. So if we could go and buy those bottles of water close to that community, you're already starting to help that community recover. So again, if we can just use our head a little bit, start to ask questions like, what do they really need? Maybe I should contact somebody on the ground before we go in and send what we think they need. We need to ask, what do you actually need? This bottom picture is after the tsunami in Indonesia. These are clothes that are on the beach. They have to be burned because they had no place to store them. It's hot, it's humid, it's raining. The clothes get moldy. They can't be used because there just wasn't a plan. So we want to make sure we go in with a plan when we're helping out. Okay, our second principle is unintended consequences. Kind of follows a little bit that first do no harm principle. But who here is familiar with Tom's Shoes? Yeah? Okay. They have a model where you buy your pair of shoes and they donate a pair of shoes. That was kind of their initial model. It's really a great idea, right? But think about, what if you were the person that made all the shoes in that community? Is anyone buying shoes from you anymore? They're not buying shoes. So what happened actually when they first implemented this program is they disrupted local economies. The people that sold shoes, the people that fixed shoes, they were out of a job now. So those are the consequences we need to think about. I also like this quote too. It's kind of if you give a man a fish. But if you give kids shoes, how fast do you grow out of shoes? Really fast, right? Kids are always growing. But if you give that kid's parent a job, they'll always be able to buy shoes for their children. So always want to think about that. Okay. Our next principle is finding a shorter line. It's a very, very long line. Don't wait in line for a volunteer opportunity. If it is full, go find something else to do. And the best example of this for me is Thanksgiving dinner, serving Thanksgiving dinner. Do you know how many people it takes to serve Thanksgiving dinner? Not very many. It really doesn't take that many. And those opportunities, by the way, are already gone by May. They've already been secured. And honestly, they usually go to donors or VIPs in the community. It's usually not you or me. But are you guys hungry the day before Thanksgiving? Yeah? Are you hungry the day after Thanksgiving? Yeah. People need to eat every single day. They don't need to just eat on Thanksgiving. So don't wait in line. Don't wait 10 years before it's like, finally, we can serve dinner on Thanksgiving Day. Like, no, go on November 27th. They need people to serve that day too. So go find a shorter line, find where you're needed. Okay, another principle, go to the source. This is supposed to be a picture of kids playing telephone. Have you ever played the game telephone? Kind of an old-fashioned game where you tell you something and then you tell them. And how does it always end up at the end? Does it match up? Never matches up, right? So when you're trying to help, go to the source. Go to the nonprofit you want to work for. Don't just trust somebody who said, oh, I heard that nonprofit needs blankets. And then make 50 blankets and show up, and the nonprofit's like, yeah, no, we don't need blankets anymore. We need this. So go directly to the source, find out what they actually need. Avoiding too much of a good thing. People in the winter need coats, right? How many coats can you wear at one time? Okay, I'm from Southern California, so maybe I can get a couple on because I don't like the cold. But you really don't need that many coats. You don't need 50 coats, right? So make sure that you're meeting the need, but not exceeding it. You're not creating that extra problem that's out there. Another principle, convenient for whom? Think about this. When you're giving service, who is it about? Should be about the other person, right? The person that you're helping. It's not about you. It's not like, well, I have an hour on Wednesdays at 11 a.m. Sometimes that works, but sometimes it doesn't. Lots of times, too, we're free to volunteer on the weekends or in the evenings, and a lot of nonprofits, a lot of places that need help, they're closed. So make sure that you're serving when you're needed, and you're not necessarily making other people be available for you. Okay, don't do what others can do for themselves. This is really how we can show respect to the people that we're serving, is we don't want to help them with something that they know how to do or they can do for themselves. Think about how that would make you feel. Well, let's say you just enjoyed a delicious piece of cake, but you have some crumbs on your mouth. How would you feel if I walked up to you and wiped those crumbs off? Can you wipe the crumbs off your face? Yeah, you just need to know they're there, right? That's kind of this principle. We don't want to make people feel bad by kind of stepping in and saying, "Oh, let me do this for you." And this example that I want to tell you is just about the Stuff for Santa program here locally. One of the things that we encourage is we don't wrap the gifts, because parents can wrap the gifts. First of all, the parents should see what their kids are getting. They should be a part of that experience, even though they're not purchasing the gifts. They should be able to see those gifts, and they should be able to kind of vet too. If they don't want a child to have a certain thing, that's their right as a parent. So letting the parents see the gifts is part of it, but also you can go to the dollar store and buy wrapping paper and tape. It costs $2. And that way they get to be part of this experience of giving their kids presents, even though they couldn't afford to buy them this year. So if the communities or the people that you're serving, let them do what they can and just help where there's that deficit, where they can't do it for themselves. Okay, the last principle we're going to talk about here is avoiding Twinkie service. Say no to Twinkies. Twinkie service is service that makes you feel good, but doesn't have any nutritional value, okay? So think about that when you're going and doing service. Think about this. Is this helping? Is this contributing? Use that head. Use your heart, and we want you to avoid Twinkie service. That's not really going to help, and maybe just makes you feel better. Okay? Any questions about that part, those principles? Okay, and we're going to turn it back to Alexis.
The clicker. Oh, yeah, thanks. Okay, what is something new that you just learned from summer? Somebody raise their hand. Don't be shy, because I will call on you. I have 3 daughters. I have no problem embarrassing people. Yeah. Oh, the mic. I got to give you the mic, so sorry. Everybody can hear. You want to talk in there?
I actually just forgot what I was going to say.
Okay. That's all right. Who else? Anyone else? Something new that you learned? Oh, yeah, okay.
When donating to people who need help, the best thing to give them is just cash.
Yeah, that's a great one. Sometimes we make assumptions what people need. What else? Something new that you learned. All the way in the back. Love it.
Sometimes the most isn't always the best.
Yes. That's great. One more. Oh.
Go to the original source.
Mm-hmm. Find out exactly what's needed. Don't assume the hospital needs blankets. They might need some other things. Okay, so now that we know all the things we need to think about when we're wanting to help people, let's talk about what you can actually do at this point in time. So I have a daughter, her name's Aspen, and she's almost 12, and she is all about making a difference in the community. She's very, very passionate about it. And I've had to really work with her to help her understand that she's got some great ideas, but it might not necessarily be what the community needs. So this is an activity that we did, and you can also do to help identify how you can have an impact on your community. And I would have Aspen here tonight, but she has a dance recital this weekend, and she has dance tonight, so she couldn't come. Okay, so everyone turn your paper over, or you're probably already on it, and you should have like number 1 question. Is everybody on that page? Okay, and everybody has a pen or a pencil, something to write with? Perfect. All right. So the first thing we need to think about is what is important to me. Think about the values that are important to you, and then you're going to narrow those values to 5 or 6 of the most important values that you have. Okay, so the first thing I want you to do is just write down one thing that's important to you, one value. And here's some ideas about values. Okay? Values might be something like love is really important to you, or autonomy, compassion, having fun. That's something that can be really important to you. Recognition, spirituality, self-respect, many different values that you can have. So I want everybody to at least write down one value. And I'm going to pick on someone, so make sure you're writing something down. Okay? So for my daughter Aspen, a couple things that really stuck out to her is that she likes to have fun. She's always motivated by fun. And she also has, she's very bold in what she does, and she's really, the idea of peace, and you'll see how this peace has to work with in the end of what she decided to do. But peace is something that's important to her. So did everybody write something down? Okay, all right. The next thing that we're going to go to is now we're going to think about what are our talents, gifts, and abilities. What's an example of a talent? Yes. What was that?
Dancing.
Dancing, yep. Dancing is a great example of a talent. It's not mine, but it is a talent. What else? Another example of a talent. Yeah.
Drawing.
Drawing. Great example. Any other talent? What was President Holland's sort of talent when his mom was kind of harping on? Violin, yes, which I did not know that. I learned something new about him, and I've been working with him for 9 years. Okay, so think about your talents. What are some gifts that you might have or abilities? Give me some examples of those. Singing, okay, that's a great talent and a gift. Again, one that I do not have. Yeah. Yeah, making people laugh, being able to reach out to people and have compassion towards people, empathy, those are great qualities. So I want everybody to write down one of those. And here's some other ideas. Maybe you're really good at math. Anybody really good at math? If you are, you should be in our UVU prep program. It's a great program that we have here at UVU. Maybe you're really good at creating videos or problem solving. There's an issue and you can solve it with your friends. When everyone's talking and gossiping about someone, you know how to just solve the issue and everyone's able to move on. Or you're really good at cooking or building things or taking apart things. If you are, you should be an engineer. We need more of you, especially we need more women as engineers. So think about some of those talents that you might have. And then think about how, with those talents, gifts, and abilities, how you might help your family or your friends or your community. You don't necessarily need to write anything down about that right now, but just kind of think about that when you're thinking about your talents. All right, so we've all written down a talent or a gift or an ability. Okay. So I was going to go back. So for Aspen, some of her talents is that she's definitely a great leader, and she's excellent at planning. Okay, remember that one for when we get to the end when I talk about what she came up with. All right, now we're going to move on to step 3. So what have I liked before? So think about some time, spend some time remembering examples you've had positive service opportunities. How many of you have actually volunteered before? Raise your hand. Okay. Wait, you gotta raise them high. I can't even see you. Raise those hands. Okay. Now, was it positive? Was it a good experience? If it was, raise your hand. Okay. And if it was a bad experience, raise your hand. Okay. Would you be willing to share why it was a bad experience? You would? You're okay? That's great. Okay. Tell us why it was a bad experience.
So I went to volunteer in my old town of Illinois at an animal shelter, I think, and they wouldn't allow us to go in because I didn't have my parent with me, and that was kind of disappointing.
Okay, so what could have we done so that you wouldn't have gotten there and found out you couldn't actually volunteer? That Summer talked about beforehand. What was it? Ask first. Yeah, go to the source and find out, can I actually come and volunteer? What are the rules? That's a good one. All right, who had a really good service experience? Raise your hand. Raise your hand high. Who wants to actually talk about it? Do you want to talk about it? Okay. Tell us why.
Well, I also make my kids practice their instruments throughout the year, and around Christmas time we've put together a little musical program and gone to an assisted living facility and performed a Christmas program.
So what made it a good experience?
Watching the joy on the faces of the people that were watching, and then realizing that all of the work that they, have been put into developing their talents was creating joy for others.
Thank you. Okay, hold on really quick. So while we're thinking about that service opportunity, write it down if you had one. If you didn't have a service experience before, what is something that you just maybe had a good experience with? If one of your talents was math, did you help tutor someone at some point in time? And was it a good experience? Maybe you helped your friend in their algebra class, or your parent who was trying to help you with your homework, which is the case in our house usually. And then as you're looking and thinking about that, is there something common to these examples? What do I mean by is there something common? When you're thinking about some good service experiences, what might be something common about it? We heard one good experience here. Who else had a good experience with service that they wanted to speak about? Oh, was there someone over here on the front? Oh, right here. Okay, tell us about your good experience.
Well, as like a young woman for a project, or for an activity, we made boppy pillows for the hospital to take to the NICU, and we made them all, and we made how many, 70?
81 actually.
81 pillows, and it was really cool. The hospital was really grateful.
Why was it a good experience for you?
Because we knew that they needed them, and they were really grateful for them.
Okay, there was a specific need, and you were able to address that need. Okay, and then we also know that another commonality is that in the assisted living, the people who were there listening to the music had a good experience. It's another example of hey, there was probably a need there. There was an interest there. Okay, one more. Did you want to speak?
So last summer, my siblings and I, we found out that a friend of my mom's was going to adopt a girl in China, but he was trying to be able to adopt her with as least as possible, so we set up a lemonade stand to help her raise money for that.
Great. That's a great thing to do. You're able to identify what you can do to help, and you were probably outgoing and interested in being with your friends and your family and being able to raise that money, so that's great. Okay, so now that we've identified our talents, we've identified our values, we thought about what good experiences look like, we thought about what bad service experiences look like, now we're going to figure out how can I actually make an impact? How can I actually make a difference? So think about ways you can combine your values, your talents, and what you like to do. All right? So let's take my daughter Aspen for an example. We talked about she's a good leader. She's a really good planner. One thing I didn't mention is she has a lot of compassion, and she loves animals. But the poor kid's allergic to everything, and she wants to be a veterinarian, and I feel so bad for her. But she has this desire. So it was President's Day weekend. No, it was Martin Luther King Day weekend. And we always try to do some sort of service activity during that weekend, because that's something that was really important to Martin Luther King Jr., was the idea of giving service and to make a difference in his community. So just because we have a day off doesn't necessarily mean it's a day off. It's a day that we can actually make a difference in our community. So because she liked to plan, and she liked animals, and she has this compassion, she actually planned a weekend trip for us down to Best Friends Animal Sanctuary in Kanab, Utah. How many of you have ever been to Best Friends Animal Sanctuary? Have you? It's amazing. I love it. It's one of the best experiences that we've ever had as a family, and we have our youngest is 6 and our oldest is almost 12, and we were able to go down there for 2 days and volunteer and actually work with the animals, and we were cleaning bunny cages and parrot cages and cats, and we couldn't help with the dogs or the horses, but we were doing work that needed to get done that nobody else was able to get to. The other thing about it is we actually identified a weekend that they really needed help. In the summer, people come from all over the world to come and volunteer there. And they spend a week there sometimes. And the waiting list is long. And it's already booked up for like most of June and most of July. But guess what? Martin Luther King Day, we were the only ones there. And there's like 200 volunteer spots. We were the only ones there that weekend. So we were really excited to be able to have that amazing experience and to learn about poverty, to learn about why some of the animals are in the sanctuary, to learn about about our environment. But all that was because Aspen identified what her skills and her talents were, what her interests were, and planned something that would work for her. So, are you thinking about something that would work for you? Okay? What is something, how can you combine your values, your talents with what you like to do? Anybody want to share? Have you come up with something a way to combine everything that you like, and your values and your talents to make a difference? Anyone? Okay, let's keep going here. We'll get there. Okay, so here's some ways that you can do all that. So Aspen, what we did is, I said we went down and we actually worked with animals and we cleaned out cages and bird poop and all that fun stuff. So that's a form of direct service. Another idea of direct service is something that Summer was talking about when you're at the homeless shelter, the Food and Care Coalition, and you are cooking and making meals and serving food for those who live at the Food and Care Coalition. That's an example of direct service. You're there and you're doing a specific activity at that moment in time, okay? So that's one way that you can get involved and make an impact. Another way is through learning and research. So how can you help animals through learning and research? Any idea? And yeah.
So you can like research more about the animals and know what their biggest need is. So you can go help them more.
Yeah, it's a great example. Does anybody really like to write? Okay. For those of you who love to write, when you get older, you can research and write grants for organizations that need money, nonprofit organizations that need money to be able to function. So if you're really passionate about working with animals or the environment, you can write a grant and give that money to that organization so they can be able to do what they need to do. Social entrepreneurship. Anyone have any idea what that means? It's a pretty big word, okay? It's kind of like the idea of, I hate using now Tom's, but I'm trying to think of another good one. Can you think of one off the top of your head? Oh, yeah. Yeah. How many of you have been to Even Stevens? It's a sandwich shop down in Provo. Yeah. So is it a meal?
Yeah, every meal
they donate money to a specific organization for every meal that you purchase. That's an idea of that social entrepreneurship. So you're creating something, and that is going to benefit that community. Policy and governance. That's the idea about when you get older, not even when you get older. Anybody in student council within their school? Love it. Great. Come to UVU when you're done. We need great student leaders. You can make changes within your own community, within your own school. You can create policies, or you can, if there's a concern that you have with a policy, that's a great way to impact your community. And you can do that even in your school and student council. Organizing and activism. So if you're passionate about something, you can organize a group of people to make a change. Maybe it's you're protesting something that you're concerned about, or maybe it's just bringing your friends together and like, you guys, we got to try to figure out how we can solve this issue. What can we do? And it's happening at your age. And then philanthropy. Anybody have ever heard that word before? Another big word. Okay, what does it mean to you? Some of you raised your hands. What is it? Yes, giving money. So that's when you're donating money to a cause. So those are just some different ways. Okay, so step 5, what does the community need? We've already talked about that. We know how to identify what the community needs. We don't want to create problems that need to be fixed. We want to help the needs that already exist. And you already know how to do that. Summer did a great job of doing that for you. So, you went through your worksheet. Does anybody have any ideas of what they could do to impact the community based on what your interests are, knowing what the community might need, or just an idea? Oh, we got one. Okay, tell us.
Making music.
Okay, tell me more about making music. Who are you going to make music for?
People who might have depression and need something bright in their life.
Okay. Okay, so maybe you could start a mental health club at your school. And one of the activities that your club does is to create music and use that as a tool to help others who might have anxiety or depression. That's a great thing. What else? Oh, we got one in the back. Okay. I love this, a brave soul.
Okay, so I kind of already do this with my family, but every Christmas break we go down to Mexico and build houses for people. So we're kind of a building family.
You're building, okay.
So we just kind of put that to good use. We go down for people who are less fortunate, who don't have houses or live in more poor surroundings, and we just help people down there during Christmas break.
That's great. So she said, did you catch that? She said, we're kind of a building family. It's actually something that we like to do. Do you have people in your family who just are in construction or good at building? Yeah? So that was something that you were able to use your skills, and you identified a need, and you were able to address that need through those talents. That's great. Others. Oh, we got one over here. Okay. Tell me more about that. So she said you don't want to talk about that, to give therapy? Okay, I will say it for you. So you tell me, and then I'll say it in the microphone. Okay. Okay, to give therapy. Tell me more about that.
Like some people have depression, or they are dealing with a change in their life, like moving or something, and they need some.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of go with that for a minute. Okay, so do any of you have like peer mentoring programs at your school? That's kind of what she's talking about. So it's the idea where at your school, you can get, with the help of your principal or teachers, you can start a program where you can be a peer mentor to other students within your school. And that might mean when a new student shows up, they assign you to that student to show them around campus, I'm thinking college, sorry, show you around the school. Or if someone's just kind of having a rough day. I know at my kids' school they have a program like this, and they have a buddy bench, and there's a few kids that are in this club, and they know that if they see someone on the buddy bench, they head over to the buddy bench and talk to them and have a conversation. And these are kids who like to talk. And so it's something that they really enjoy doing, and they're able to use their skills, and they started this whole group at this specific school to be able to be kind of a peer mentor. So that's a great example. Yeah.
So I was just going to say along the lines that she was saying, my daughter wasn't able to be here, but she actually had a hard time getting into junior high, and that can be a hard adjustment. So she wasn't feeling good about herself, and there's lots of things that were coming up, and so she had to do a project in her Girl Scouts, and she actually was able to do a couple of these things, and she did a Girls Care Week at her school, where she was able to pinpoint the things that she wanted to see in other girls, like to feel good about themselves. So she actually did a whole week of... She did a lot of that. She did. She did a whole week where she just tried to, each day was a different day to try to motivate and make them feel good about themselves and inspire them. And she was able to get out, and I'm not sure which one it would be, but she was able to make T-shirts that represented what they did, and it was a good week for her, and it actually helped her to be a little bit more confident now.
Fantastic. I love that. She saw an issue, she used her skills to address it, and some good things came out of it. It's a great example. Thank you. Okay, so You have your worksheet to help you identify, but it's not that easy, huh? How many of you actually have something on your worksheet of a service opportunity you can do based on what you wrote down? Raise your hand. A couple of you. Not very many, because sometimes we need some other tools to help us. So that's what we're going to look at right now. Sorry, I have a cough that just will not go away.
Okay, so we're going to look at some tools that you can use to find needs in the community. So, who is here has heard of United Way of Utah County? United Way is a fantastic organization. That's actually where I started my career. My first job out of graduate school was with this organization, and I love what they do. And they have a great, easy website to use to find volunteer opportunities. So, when you go to their website, you will click on the Get Involved, and well, I'm going to show it to you right now. So, I'm a person that has lots of tabs open all the time. Okay, so when you come to their website, actually, let me show you how to get there. If you have a phone or... Yeah, if you have a phone or tablet, you can open it up, and their mobile site works great. I tested it out this afternoon. Okay, so here's our website. It's UnitedWayUC for UtahCounty.org, and you'll go up here to get involved, and then first search for volunteer opportunities, okay? And here you can search by a couple of different ways. You can search by needs, by events, or by agencies, and we'll go through each of those. So if you click on needs, and then you click your little magnifying glass, it will pop up all of these needs that are here in the community. And there are pages and pages of them. I went through looking at them. Let's look like Fresh Start Parade of Tiny Homes volunteer. That sounds like fun. So what can you do? You can click on it, volunteer. Here's the day or when it's going to happen. There's different shifts. These are how many volunteers they need. 60, okay? And there's a description. It'll tell you what you need to do, and this is part of what the questions you need to ask, right? Like, what's the age limit? What do I need to wear? All these kinds of things. So here we can see the volunteers need to be between 50 and 80. It's family friendly, all these things. Outdoors, wheelchair accessible. They have all these great information. Here's where it is. This is the agency, and you can actually click on the agency, and it will take you can learn more about the agency, who they are, what they do. And then you can see all the other opportunities that are available with that organization, okay? So there are just pages and pages here. These opportunities are populated by the nonprofits themselves, which is really important because we learned what? Go to the source, right? So the source is here. They're telling us this is what we need. So go there and you can connect to those sources. Okay, now if you want to, click back here. Start here. You could also search by events. This will take you to specific dates. So these are dates where they need opportunities. You can click on that, say, oh, I'm available this day. You can click there. Then there's also this great agencies. And I have a database similar to this here at UVU, and those opportunities are specific to students. When I talk to students, I have the same function on my database where you can just look at these agencies. And sometimes that's a great way to get started too. It's finding out what are you really passionate about. We just took you through that exercise, right? Like what's important, what am I good at? You can come and look at these organizations. So like Boys and Girls Club of Utah County. Great organization. You can start to read about what they do, and then you can contact them, and you can reach out to them. And somebody said, I have music skills, right? Maybe you can go and teach a guitar class after school, because this is after-school programming, right? So you can also start with an organization and contact them and talk to them, because unfortunately, they're not going to be able to list every single need that they have up here. But you can have that kind of conversation with them and figure out what's a need, if there's something that can match up with your skills or your talents that maybe isn't in the database. Does that make sense? Any questions about this? Okay, so this is one tool that we have. There's another tool called justserve.org. You might be familiar with this one. functions very similarly. And actually, as I was kind of looking at both of these, there are the same opportunities on many of them. But what you can do is you can put in your zip code. So let's see. Oh, that's mine. We'll try Orem's here. So we're going to click. Okay. So here is the list of opportunities for here. So lots of great things. You can show them all. Best Buddies Utah is here. You can click on it. And here's their organization. This is the information that is available. I'm going to go back here because I think it skipped a step. If we search here, it's thinking. Hopefully. Okay, here's opportunities. So the Corporate Sports Challenge, turn, lots of opportunities. You can click on Show All and it'll start to populate all these opportunities. Thinking there must be lots of people trying to access this. So you see there's Habitat for Humanity. They're sitting out there. You can meet them. So here, let's click on this. Volunteer Construction Crew Leader. Awesome. So here I'll tell you exactly what you need to do. You can serve as a mentor for volunteers. You enforce safety standards and procedures. Here's the information, their website, and here's who to contact, Leanne. Okay, Leanne's out there. You can meet her. So this is another great resource that you can use in the community. Put in your zip code, put in your city, and you can start to connect to opportunities. Does anyone have any questions about those two resources? No? Okay. Does everyone have a phone on them? Do you guys have phones, tablets, anything like that? Do you guys want to practice? Because I have some questions. Go to unitedwayuc.org on your phone. We're going to have a little scavenger hunt. See if you can find this opportunity that I'm looking for. Okay, so pull out your phone. And no signal, there's Wi-Fi.
Oh, that's why there's no signal in here, I forgot.
Okay. Well, then I'll just show you what I found. Okay, get involved. We're going to click here. You have Wi-Fi? Okay, see, I think you can get on the Wi-Fi. I was going to ask you if you could find, there's an opportunity in this database that's looking for writers. I was going to see what, because that is a cool skill that a lot of people have. Look here, computer lab mentor, if you're good with computers. There's so many great things. Oh, here it is, writers needed. So look, they're in need of writers to assist with articles, press releases, blogs, and special stories about the people that they work with. That sounds like an awesome opportunity, especially if you're interested in going into communication. Volunteering is a fantastic way to find out if you like a field. It's a great way. Before you get a job, you go through all the hard work of getting a job, and then you start it, and you're like, oh my gosh, I hate this. It's really good to volunteer and figure out, yeah, I do like it, or no, I don't. So volunteering is a great way, and this is a great skill that you can use to develop. Okay. Another one I found, oops, I think I tucked this away. Where did I just put that? Okay, there's an organization that needs bike repair volunteers. I thought that was another cool thing. Any bikers in here? Anyone that likes bikes? Oh, we got one. Okay, so if you're looking to bike repairs, I can't remember exactly where I found this. Keep looking. Let's see. Oh, it was on the last one? I just missed it. Where was it? Right there. Ooh, women bike repair volunteers. I saw another one too. That was her. But, oh, and right next to it. Okay. So yeah, look at that. You can volunteer, learn how to repair bikes, and then teach other people how to do it. How cool is that? And this organization is the Provo Bicycle Collective. So you can learn about them. So I encourage you to take some time, just kind of explore these websites. You can really find what you're looking for. There's so many great things that you can get involved in. So keep working on your worksheet. Think about those talents and skills that you have. I know when I was your age, I thought, I don't have any talents and skills because I wasn't like the singer or the dancer or things, but I'm a really good listener. And I like to be strategic. And I actually ended up liking teaching. I didn't think I did. So I was able to develop, as I got older and as I figured those things out, that helped me figure out things that I like to do. Okay? Any questions for us that we can answer about these things? You really can make a difference at any age, at any stage of your life. And I hope that through our presentation, you're encouraged to go out there and empower yourselves to use both your heart and your head as you go out and serve and really make a difference. So thank you for coming to our presentation. I don't know. Oh, here you go.
We're not, I think you're coming back here. Did they say anything afterwards? Is there anything happening okay. We didn't, what did they say? Go get treats, is that what they said? Where are they, the treats? Okay, well, I guess we're done. So thanks for coming tonight.
Go for
You can keep your pens. If you don't want to keep your pens, you can put them up here.
Put them up here.
Either way.
Thank you for participating.